Okay, today I'm going to go over the dash removal in the 2005 Hyundai Tucson. The reason I'm removing the dash is because I have my JVC radio here, and it came with a Bluetooth microphone that I didn't know that I could put in there at the time, and the only connection is at the back of the JVC. So I'm going to have to re-remove this dash panel to do so. So what I plan on doing is taking my microphone here, I plan on sticking it on my window, and then with the cord I plan on running it through this panel all the way down and behind underneath the weather strip. I'm gonna have it run down. This is probably gonna be my most trickiest part just because I have part of the panel and weather strip here. I'm gonna have to pry it open, and then more than likely I'm gonna have to end up routing the cable through the fuse box, and at that point it's gonna go up underneath here. I'm gonna route it up and have it come out somewhere behind the panel, and at that point I won't even have to take my radio out. I have my directions here on the installation. If you see here, the microphone goes right above the cable input, and at that point I should have enough room with my hands to actually put the cable to plug the microphone up without having to remove the radio. So first step to remove the dash, I'm going to have to pop this little protective piece here on the gear shifter, and it's going to reveal 2 screws. So I'm going to go ahead and get those removed. Try to keep up with all your hardware, make sure you know where they all go in the end. And also with this dash panel removal, I mean, it gives you access to multiple areas of the car. I actually have a broken cigarette ashtray here that actually does not lock into place anymore. So at some point I'm actually going to have to go in there and replace that. Okay, so I got the screws removed. I actually dropped one after I told you to keep up with your hardware, but I just looked real quick and found it. So next step, go ahead and pull this gear shifter off. Cool. So at this point, you want to get your keys. You're going to have to put your gear shifter in drive to remove it at this point. So I still have my battery connected. I'm going to leave it connected through this whole process. The only thing I'm not going to do, since it's connected, is unplug the switch that indicates my passenger airbag, because if I have the battery connected and unplug it, I'll get a signal on my car saying that it's not showing, and that'll end up having to me take it back to the dealership and get that reset. Stop it. So remember, when you put it in drive, go ahead and engage your park brake so you're not rolling down the hill or something, okay? So I'm going to take my pry tool, and I'm going to go ahead and start prying up this panel, which is held in by a few clips. So there you go, you hear it pop. The clips pop out, and there's also a cable in here that connects, and I have to take off. So now I'm going to go ahead and push in this, which I said was broke. I'm going to go ahead and lift this up through here, and you see this part come right here. This is part of your gear shifter. This is why you have to be in drive to remove this. So at this point, you see we got a cable here. It's only just a push button cable. Little connectors at the back, push her in, it'll disconnect, and also this disconnects from this metal plate, which we're also going to have to disconnect. So you can go ahead and remove that as well. Just tuck that in, disconnect that. You can set this down. Okay, we're done with that. And at this point, you can go ahead and put your car back into park, and you can remove the keys. Okay, so now at this point I have this metal bracket here which I need to remove. It comes with 10 screws, 2 in the back and these 3 on the sides and 2 in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing these. Just be really careful when you get a finger on those. You don't want to drop none of this stuff down in there. So there's one. I'm going to get this other back one. And just excuse the ashtray holder there. Yeah, like I said earlier, is broke. So I'm gonna remove that one. There's a piece of hardware, but it fell right in my floorboard, so I can grab it. I like to break torque on a lot of these and then loosen them all. Gear shifter's kind of in the way again. Okay, so now I can go ahead and completely remove the rest of the hardware. These middle screws here, when I've removed this panel in the past, have been the ones that have given me a little more difficulty. It seems like this one here gets tight before it's supposed to. So I'm going to, so this one still has a lot of, it's really tight going down through there. There we go. Okay, all removed. So at this point, I can go ahead and get my bracket and remove it. Okay, that bracket removed. So next, there's going to be one more screw that I'm going to have to get to. If you look back in there, once this thing focuses, it's going to be right back there. Your gear shifter really gets in the way of this one, but you just got to work around it. So I'm going to go ahead and get that one removed. So I'm going to go ahead and get my other hand in here so I do not drop this screw. And also, I noticed manufacturer, they actually painted the head of this one, so you kind of know exactly where this one goes. Okay, so now got it removed. Last one. Okay, go and stop. All right, so at this point, everything holding this panel in now is just clipped. So at this point, I can actually just grab this and just pop it off. And there is seriously, I think, 8 or 9 connections holding this in there. So if you look, panels pop free. Take the camera. If you look down through here, you can maybe see some of these connections. There's a lot of them in there. The most difficult one is the one actually right here, connecting the AC heating and air. I almost cut that cable off initially because it is a pain to remove. So I'm going to try my best to not have to remove that one this go around, but we'll see. This yellow one right here is the one that actually goes to your passenger airbag. I would not recommend removing that one, especially if the battery's connected. Okay, so at this point I disconnected all my connections that I needed to from my panel, and now so I left the yellow connected, and at this point I can set it up. And what I was hoping for is that I could just run what I plan on doing is running my cable through and possibly coming out this hole here. You can see it right there, and running the plug-in to the back and then just hooking it up. But as I realized, the quarters back there is pretty tight, so when I do have my plug-in for my Bluetooth ran through, I'm actually going to have to take my radio back out, which I was hoping I didn't have to do, because lining that thing up was actually pretty tough with that dash kit. But yeah, it looks like I'm going to actually have to remove this once I run my cable through. So what I did initially is I just duct taped my cable here for my Bluetooth to the spot pretty much where I'm going to want it. It has an adhesive backing, so once I do get it connected, I can hook it, I can stick it directly to the windshield. But for the time being, I want to hold it in place of where I want it. So the first thing what I'm going to do is have to route my cable through here. So this is going to be fun, and I would also advise, I don't know too much about cars, but I would advise being very careful around this airbag. So if it ends up going off while I am removing this, that'll definitely make like a fail blog or something. Alright, so first I'm going to get in there. This thing's actually pretty easily pried up. I'm going to run this in. And like for most of my cables on most of my devices, whether it be my entertainment system or fish tanks, I like to do everything I can to try to hide the cables and look as seamless as possible. So initially, I thought I could just plug, you want to come down here to the radio? I thought I could plug my microphone in right here and then just hook it up here to the panel. It'd work, but come to find out that did not work at all. So let's get back up here. So I've already started in here. I got a little bit of a gap now, but I'm not too concerned about that. So now I can actually just feed this through here with my panel tool. Alright, I'm getting next to the weather strip. And at this point I'm going to kind of pry open my weather strip just a bit. This panel actually goes a little deeper into the weather strip, so I'm actually going to have to run it a little further around. Alright, so now at this point I'm in there. And now I can just start running down my weather strip. So I'm going to run down as far as I can until I get stopped. So I'm going to go ahead and pry up this little section here. A little bit at a time. Get that in there a little more. That makes a little gap. Let's see if I can just feed it through as I go. Okay. There we go. That's pretty good technique right there. Uh-oh. Kind of scratching the weather strip a bit. Don't want to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually trying to get into doing all this kind of maintenance and stuff myself on my car. It turns out it's actually really easy if you just actually look into how they're doing it. I just know for each make and model of car and year, you're hardly ever going to find an exact video. It looks like you're going to have to put it a little deeper in the weather strip to actually get this gap closed up a bit. So I'm going to make sure it's in there. I'm going to stop real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this fuse box here, and it just easily pries open. A couple clips, no big deal. Set this down. So let me see what I have to work with here. So probably my best bet is to run the cable. Once I get down through here, you can see right here, I'm going to run it down through, probably back through one of these holes, and it should come up at the bottom of my floorboard. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that. So you can kind of look up here. This is the spot I thought I would encounter the most difficulty feeding this in, but looking like it might actually be pretty easy. Need a different tool. So at this point I want to go ahead and get a different tool, kind of feed this in. I was hoping this would work better. It's a little narrower. Okay, so right here, looks like I'm gonna have to feed it into this weather strip. See if I can get it behind there. Okay. I also need to get it underneath this weather strip. Oh, there it goes. It's in there. So it's like we're clear. What I did is I made like a little piece. I realized how tough this thing is actually going to be to get through. So now I'm going to run my duct tape through. It's a little technique. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll see. So Run this through. If I can get it through. Okay, there it is. So now I have it pulled through right here, which is what I want. So now I'm going to run the rest of the cable through, just so I know it won't get caught anywhere in this area. So at this point now, I want to run it on the back side of all this panel, and then it's going to come out through the bottom. Well, I'm more than likely going to have to reach in there and grab it. Okay, you going to stop it? So if you look up underneath now, this little cable's in the way. You can see where the cable's coming through right here. I'm going to have to run it up this way. But since I'm down here, I want to run it all the way through. And then once I'm all the way through, more than likely, I will take some of my cord here and probably zip tie it to some of these cables. That way it's not hanging down next to the foot pedals here. So yeah, go ahead and try that and I'll let you know how it goes. So if you look what we did here, we ran it up through this floorboard. It also helps to have a second person. We ran the cable up through here. So now we can go ahead and pull up through all the slack. And once everything's pulled through, probably going to zip tie the cable to a couple, just some cables down there. That way it doesn't come free and that it stays tight through there. And it doesn't interfere with our foot pedals at all. I think it's good. So if you take a look, I went ahead and zip tied part of the cable right here to these few guys. Let me go ahead and tighten it up a bit. Okay. And then I put another one. Where is it at? Another one right in there. Tighten that up as well. That way there's no chance that the cable ended up coming and falling down through the floorboard into the foot panels. Alright, now that I got the cable all the way through, zip tied up underneath, I'm going to go ahead and remove my radio. So after the aftermarket installation kit, it's only held in by the 4 screws here. Well, it was originally 2, but it's by these plastic ones. A lot of these, you see these broken brackets. Part of the installation dash kit was actually break off a lot of those. And as I'm trying to reinstall my dash or panel initially, up here, a lot of these brackets ended up, I didn't know I had to break them completely off. So as I'm trying to install this, there was a lot of interference with some of these, so I actually had to break them off even more. It tells you to only leave the ones you actually need. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start removing this hardware. Okay, start at the bottom. And as always, keep up with your hardware. Do not drop it down in there, that would be unfortunate. There's one. Put these right here. And actually getting this in here initially was one of the harder parts, because some of this plastic didn't want to bend around these little, you see that, these little pins here. So a little force had to be used. Not too much though. Also, I realized if so I'm pretty new to stereos, radios, all that, putting it in myself. So I drove around, I got this panel off initially, and I did not want to have to put it back on to drive around to town to look for something. But if you did, I would suggest putting this back on and plugging up this one cable right here, because if you don't, your turn signals won't work. So as long as you plug up this cable right here, you're good to go. And if it's hot or cold, you're gonna have to of course replug this in. But up to you. Okay, that's removed. Got one more. Okay, all removed. Okay, now it's just going to take a little bit of finesse to get this out. Never mind. It's actually quite easy. So if you look around the back side here, have all your plug-ins. Can you see that? Okay, that's everything that we're looking for. And this is my microphone. Oh wow, it was this cable. I didn't realize, I thought it was just a plug-in, but it's actually just going to go into this cable here. So now, because if you see here, it's clearly labeled. If you see this, can you see that? The mic, labeled mic. So at this point, since the radio runs through here, I want to come back up through the top up here, or back through where the panel sits. I'm going to plug her up. Okay, run all my excess through here. Make sure it's just not getting caught on anything. Okay, there it is. There's my microphone connected. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and put her back in. Hopefully not too much is getting caught. I zip tied these earlier. I might actually want to zip tie this together. I'm going to stop it. What are you doing? Stop it. So to reiterate, FYI, if you see this little pink guy coming down through the thing, you could actually plug your microphone directly into this, and it should work, instead of wasting your time and taking your radio back out. So at this point, I zip tied it together, got all the cables, not nice and neat, but sort of neat. It's going to be hidden, so I ain't too worried about it. Just want to make sure nothing gets pinched back there as I'm reinstalling. Okay, oh, everything goes in pretty flush the second time around. So at this point, let's actually verify to see if what's happening with this microphone, make sure it's working. So I just did a test with the microphone. Initially, before I had the microphone hooked up, if I answered the phone and my phone was connected via Bluetooth, which it is currently right now, it would not, the person on the other line couldn't hear any audio. Even if I was talking directly into my phone's microphone, it wouldn't work. But now, due to the fact that this is plugged in, it is plugged into the microphone, it could hear. Just some quick notes: if you need help with this JVC, to answer the phone, all you need to do is hit this button right here, and it will answer the phone for you. But yeah, if you have any more questions, that's pretty much all for this installation. Now, to put it back together, it's just the same reverse order with this dash panel. And if you have any questions or issues, just drop me a comment and I'll try to help you out as much as I can. Okay, thanks. Have a good one.